Oh, okay, I guess YouTube's going live. Okay, I'm not sure what's up with YouTube. Now YouTube is telling me no data. I should wait for YouTube. Is YouTube working for you guys?
Maybe they had a hard drive failure.
They might. Because right now, I mean, I have a green light. It just says no data. Okay, now it works. So is YouTube working for everybody else? Can we confirm YouTube works?
And yep, it's running.
All right, sounds good. Why is it like literally right now? I mean, Susan WikiWiki decides to leave planet Earth, and all of a sudden YouTube doesn't work nearly as well as BitChute, and earlier we got Odyssey and Rumble and everything else, right? You know, some people are conspiring that the very some people are suggesting that the very things that she censored are what killed her. I don't know if that's true or not. But, somebody says Odyssey video has no audio. Let's see if I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm hearing audio. You confirm, Ivan? Okay. Alchemical Gaming has video and audio. Yeah. I confirm on my end as well. And honestly, if one of them doesn't, you know, all of them shouldn't. So we'll be good. All right. So yeah, reload your page. There you go. That's a good one. We got how many watching on the Tubies right now? I have no idea how many watching on the Tubies right now. They're not updating my video.
Yeah, I'm seeing 11.
Was it 11? Awesome.
Yeah.
Night Lights on. Greetings. War Thunder made it early. All right, and over there on Odyssey, we just have some discussion. Yep, yeah, we had to refresh once again. Audio and video is fine from Instigator. All right. And checking in on Rumble. Rumble is working great. There you go. They're great. All right. See the email I sent with the... Did you see the email I sent with a link on the AI? I can literally put face live stream. Yeah, I saw part of that video. I got bored watching the video when like the first 15 minutes was how to install it on Windows. I'm like, I just don't care. It's like, please, like, I don't know. I'm sure maybe if there was timestamps maybe on the video, I could have just skipped ahead, but I had other things I was working on too, so I just jumped it for something else. But yeah, I did see that. It's nice and terrifying. So how long before those people that want to cancel me will start making videos about me using my image and likeness? You know, it'll pain them to have to use the same intro and make it work. I don't know, but anyway, yes, we did see that. All right, Solbu, are you ready?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of ask the questions I sent down there just so that people understand, because there was a little bit of miscommunication as we were discussing this offline, where people were like, oh, just turn this off and do this. Like, the problem is these are servers they're not physically in anybody's house. So, so you had some servers that you manage remotely that nobody has physical access to, right?
No, we have physical access to it. They just have 2 or 3 of the IT staff. They work. So to start with we have currently 4 servers running at which is hosted in the machine room at the University of Oslo. So we had initially 2 servers. One is a supermarket or something, and the other is a Dell something, R510 or something along those lines. And the oldest, so they are hosted at the University of Oslo. In addition, we have another supermarket who currently runs as our backup server. And it runs FreeBSD. Everything else runs Debian.
And are these servers?
And we have physical access. It just we have 2 or 3 people who have access to the server room, and they all work at the University of Oslo, but they have jobs at the university, so they can't
Yeah. So it's like they got to go in on the evening or the weekend or sometime else. And do you own them or have you rented them?
They're not mine. So I sit on the board of a data association called Norwegian Unix User Group. Um, it's kind of like a Linux user group, only it's for Unix because the association was founded in the spring of 1984. So just this August, we had a 40-year celebration of the association.
Nice.
And so the servers belong to the association, and most all of them have been donated by various companies who are members of the association. Many of whom have been members since some of who have been members for almost 40 years.
Yeah. Okay. And does the association own them or are they rented from the university?
We own them because they are donated to the association, so they're our servers.
Okay. All right. So there you have that, and then you have it set up as a RAID, right?
Yeah. So so we have a few hard drives inside these servers. Two of them have externally hosted. I think you call them. So in our term, we call them a disk shelf. So it's an external unit who does nothing but host hard drives, and they are accessible via a dedicated physical link using. So we have a fiber connection from these disk units. We have two virtualization rigs, two machines that host virtual machines, and they both have two disk shelves dedicated to each machine. And all four, so we have a total of four disk shelves, and they all have 32 or 42 disks in them. I don't remember if it's 32 or 42, but it's not a big deal. So they have a lot of disk space. So we have one. So for those in the industry, we have one shelf a unit which is called a RAID 98, and then we have a slightly newer model, RAID 112, 112, and then we have two MD 1000 units. So the M1000 units are connected to one server, and the two RAID units, the brand is RAID. They are connected to another server, and they are they are connected using. I think it's the RAID units, which show up as individual drives to the system. So we have some 40 drives that we can possibly access, and the other two are we have four RAID volumes configured on them. So we have a lot of storage when we need to.
Yep. Okay. So from here, I want you to tell the story. So this was about 6 weeks ago or something. Something went wrong.
Yeah. So this actually starts in 2021, in November or December of 2021. So we have in one of those virtual rigs, it also, because of the vast storage capacity, it also served as our backup unit. So we had so we have a total of 20 virtual machines running on total on those two rigs. One of them is an older unit, which is the BIOS is dated from 2006, and we are preparing to retire it in favor of a newer server, which haven't been configured with drives and so on yet, which will be important later. So and the RAID that stored all our backups, it died in November or December of 2021.
Okay.
and then we had to come up with a new system because on this raid that failed 3 years ago, almost, we had so it, in addition to storing the actual backups, it also stored the program and the configuration for what it was being backed up. So we lost all that. But it was so we had another server, a third one that I actually didn't know much about, running FreeBSD, which we call a free beast. Nerds and names. So we configured that as our new backup server because it has a lot of internal storage, and we now use Harddrive backup as the system for taking backups.
Real quick, the one that died a few years ago, did you know that died, or was that kind of a surprise when recovery didn't work?
It was we knew it died because I noticed after a while we got an error message from one of the cron jobs doing the backup, and I did some checking, and it turned out that at least 3 of the backup jobs. So normally this takes a few minutes, and they're all done. At least 3 of those backup jobs had been running for 2 months and wasn't done. And then it was discovered. So it took 2 months before anyone recognized that the RAID storing the backups had failed. Mm-hmm. And it was an unrecoverable backup. So we actually lost the backups, but they are backups, so it's no big deal initially. So we configured this FreeBeast as the new storage solution. Unfortunately, due to a misunderstanding by the in communication, the one configuring the systems to back up initially configured only 2 systems to be backed up, and the list was never updated. So this is 2 years ago.
So in the attempted repair, a full backup strategy wasn't implemented.
We haven't had a need to actually do a backup for as long as I can remember, and I've been part of the IT crew for 12 years at this point, maybe. Mm-hmm. So everything has been doing fine. So over the years, every couple of maybe once a year, twice a year, a hard drive would fail in one of the external disk units. And one of those who actually work at the university, as part of his daily routine or weekly routine, he sometimes would take a walk through the engine room and just to see what if there are any units who had an error light
displaying,
and if it does, which light is on, and if there are any error codes, what does it say? And so he writes that down, and then he takes out, and so he figures out what size disk is supposed to be in that unit, or how big the unit can support. So he takes a new one and replaces it and puts a new drive in the same space as the old one that failed. And then he would send an email to our mailing list that he has done this. And he has assumed that someone else knew that we were supposed to do anything with this information, and no one did. So part of this is. He told this as a part of the diagnosis after the failure this summer, that the problem is that half of these storage units, they would automatically, so if you pull a failed drive out and put a new one in its place, it would automatically put the new drive in as a replacement for the one that failed in the array that failed. And the other half does not, so you have to manually check it. And I didn't know this because I'm not a hardware guy. I just I just use the software and create packages and so on.
Yep.
So over the years, one disk failed and another. So it all culminates in July 15 of this year. So today it's actually exactly a month ago.
Okay.
So I have a daily routine. So we have Mailman running on 2 of the systems. And on one of them, we had converted from Mailman 2 to Mailman 3, which was easy enough. But we had to change the software to check it. So we used list admin is a command line utility. So I had a routine for checking the queues of mail coming to mailing list from non-members and what should be done about them. So one of the virtual machines, I used to log in and run this script just before I went to bed. This so on the 15th, I successfully logged in, and so I'm using SSH key, so I don't actually enter a password in order to log in. Just once when I open the terminal after booting up my local in order to unlock the key. I saw that I was successfully logged in, and then it promptly kicked me out without any error of any kind. And so then I had to check. So I tried to use another system. It had the same type of behavior, but I had a root terminal running on one of those virtual machines, and so I checked the logs, and it complained that it couldn't write anything because of a read-only file system. So then I checked the physical machine hosting this, and it turned out that there were lots of input-output errors from one of the drives from the external disk unit. So those 2 systems are configured with Gluster FS, which is a shared file system between hosts. So whenever you store something on a particular disk volume on one system, they are automatically using a dedicated link between the 2 machines. So we have an internal network with a home router that is not connected to anything except our systems. So we have an internal management network. So it's automatically synchronized to the other machine just by storing it on one. So we have a complete mirror or everything between the systems. So then I thought, oh, it's no big deal. I just start up the machines that was on the failed system on this other one. So this was, so I don't go to bed early. So I discovered, so this was at 3:15, 3:25 a.m. Early in the morning, just before I went to bed. And I discovered that the other system had the exact same behavior. So we were in a situation where we had 2 RAID arrays that has failed on 2 separate physical systems.
Yeah, that's like yikes.
Yeah. So I checked the logs. So I've checked the logs and tried to. And I fixed. So I have a copy of. I have some backup of the /ATC folders from about half of the systems. So I run a script a few times a week in order to update this. So I had the email addresses for all the sysadmins. So I was preparing an email about what happened and so on. And then I discovered, so when I checked the logs on one of the servers, so the one that failed, which made me aware of the problem, it failed at 11:57 p.m., just a few hours earlier. And the other system failed at 10:15 p.m., almost 2 hours earlier. So in less than 2 hours, both systems. So all redundancy was gone, and we had no So we lost everything within in less than 2 hours.
So it was a read-only system. So in theory, you could have captured the data.
But
there's too much data there to capture.
No. The virtual machines running, they couldn't store anything on the configured virtual hard drives.
Okay.
Which was no longer available due to the disk crash. So I'm still confused as to why the virtual machines didn't simply crash. And I won't maybe never know. So we are using libvirt as our KVM, QEMU something for the virtualization software running on Debian. And then 2 hours. So I used maybe an hour to diagnose and prepare an email for all the sysadmins. And I discovered that we had a backup of the two most important systems. One of which runs and hosts our internal GitLab, and the other one which hosts all our hosts our main email system and all the users. So we have we are a membership association, so you have to be a paying member. And one of the perks of being a paying member is that you get, if you want, you get a user account on our one of our virtual systems in order to read email or run Unix commands and so on and whatnot. So we had a complete backup of those two. And the third one we could restore. So one of the we have a FreeBSD guru, and all he needed was just a virtual system running again, and a virtual hard drive, and then he could install and configure everything from memory. It's because it served as our spam system, spam washing before it delivers to the internal mail system. So the two of the backups we recovered. I recovered within a day or two. And so on the second day, we had a video conference talking about what is the way forward. Because one of the systems that was affected is a very popular web site, which is the Norwegian version of the British Fix My Street. And almost all of the municipalities use this particular site in order to get information of what streets need fixing and so on.
So do you at this point in time, you have 4 systems running or you have 3 systems running? Because you had one of them that died a while ago. Has that been resolved entirely a while ago?
The physical, so the raid that died in 2021, it is still dead, but it is one of the raid volumes in one of the systems from 2006 who died this summer. So both of those was on one of the external disk storing units.
All right. So basically we had systems for unknown reasons switch to read-only file systems within an hour of each other, and you have no idea why that happened.
It didn't turn. So the physical physical hard drive got a mechanical error, and it failed. And it was because this is a hardware unit that does RAID. It was kicked out of the RAID, and so it was. We did no longer have any redundant in the RAID volume. So we in one of those we use RAID 6, and on the other unit, the old system, we used Z-Pool. So we had the 8 or 10 drives. Something like, and which is effectively RAID 2. So in both of those, we could lose 2 drives and still be working. And what happened this summer was that in both of those systems, we lost the 3rd drive. and there was no longer enough drives to have the RAID working. So the underlying storage failed and became unavailable due to our input-output error. But the virtual machines running from those storage systems, they noticed that, I can no longer store anything. So the kernel switched the file system on the virtual machines to read only. So I don't actually understand why they didn't simply crash or get a kernel oops and so on.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I know that when you have an SSD and it starts to fail, usually the first thing that happens, SSDs and SD cards, usually the first thing that starts to happen is they go into a read-only system. And once you hit an SSD that hits read-only, don't power it off. Take all the data off of it immediately because it may never power on again. That generally is the first thing. But you're saying, are these mechanical hard drives, or this was software that did it though, right?
No, this is a hardware failure.
Oh, okay. Were these SSDs or were these hard drives, mechanical hard drives?
Mechanical hard drives. So they were SAS drives, which is almost the same as SATA drive. Only the difference is that you can do dual sync, so you can have both. You can both read and write using the full speed of the storage bus, which on SATA you can't.
All right. So at this point, I want to ask a couple more of the questions I had listed out here. What plan did you guys have in place to handle data losses prior to all these going on? Did you have any ideas in mind or anything like that?
Yeah. So we had an automatic backup routine which ran daily, and it still runs daily. Okay. But it was only configured by a misunderstanding to do a backup of only 2 of the drives. Those 2, so the main.
So the 2 important ones you had, but everything else you didn't.
Yeah.
Right,
so what we're currently doing, so after the 2 days after this, we had a video conference when everyone was available to discuss the way forward. One of our IT personnel, he discovered in one of the disk shelves which drive failed last. So we have taken this particular drive out, and one of them. So we had been a local company, and I don't know if they are a member or not. I haven't checked, but that's not important. They offered to use a rack server in order to use as a recovery unit, which was very helpful, and we are still using it. So one of the crew has it. I'm not sure if it's in his office or he has it at home. So he ran a DD rescue on the drive to a replacement drive of the same size, and the DD rescue ran without problems. There were no errors. So we have the RAID, the data from this RAID drive. We have the data recovered, so to speak.
It's like all the data you have recovered now.
We have, which was on this drive. So this is part of a RAID array. So one of the drives that failed, the last one that failed, that took the array down, we have a backup copy of. But we haven't been successful in adding this to the disk unit. And it might be because he used SATA drive. And he is now using, so a few days ago, he tried again to duplicate the data onto an SAS drive. And he is now, he has replaced it, and it still doesn't work. So the one who worked at the company who has been offering us very cheap drives, and we are very thankful. He and this guy who is attempting the recovery, they are going to have a day in not too in a few days now, in the coming days, where he is going to guide this our IT technician in how to reconfigure the disk shelf because he does this as a job, and he just shipped $50,000 shipment to a customer. So they are in doing big. So we have hopes of doing this, but recovering. But we are not actually sure if this is successful, and if it doesn't work, then so in this fix my street system, if this doesn't work, this fix my street system, the Norwegian instance, has lost all of the data since its launch in 2011.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, reading between the lines, I wanted to ask how the plan failed, but let me see if I have it right. The first is we had data backups in place, but they were never verified to actually working. And it sounds like another issue was that people didn't have clearly defined roles, or there weren't enough people making sure everything was being backed up or didn't have enough. So does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
there's
an idea.
The backup worked. Someone had tested it when they initially did this maybe 20 years ago. So the solution worked, but when the storage solution hosting everything dies, then all bets are off. And this was 3 years ago. And then it happened again on the actual production system a month ago. So
yeah, that's why I pay for like my main client hosting. I actually pay them to do 3 separate types of backup systems on 3 separate locations, just to make sure we always have a snapshot in multiple different regions where I can just click a button and bring it on back onto the last backup, which could be, I know I have my internal system does a backup of the cPanel routine once a week, but then I also do full disk image backups. I think we do 3 times a week. I'd have to look at exactly what they are. And then, of course, I always have the ability to go in and take extra snapshots if I want to pay a little bit more. So those are the fun approaches, you know. But, yeah, just making sure the backups fail. Anything else? Of course, everything from here was applying this to our own personal setups. So anything else you want to mention before we get into those steps?
Yeah, so one of the things that happened prior to this, just a few weeks prior to this this crash, one of our the IT staff, he is a Debian developer. He is the one who created the graphical Debian installer back 20 years ago, as part of the Debian EDU system. He had this. So the RAID card study is in most of these systems we have. You need proprietary software in order to manage this. And he discovered that someone had created a GPL package that can run as a cron job in order to check the health status of these drives. So I have installed this on the 3 Debian systems that we have to check for. So it runs weekly and every Sunday, and we get us email if there is something wrong. And on the 2 servers that hosted that had this crash, obviously once a week they get a mail saying that these drives have failed and these ones are in danger of failing and need to be replaced soon. Because clearly we haven't been having, because I didn't know this, but clearly we haven't had any monitoring in place to alert of these events happening prior to being a problem.
So I guess that's another thing is just make sure that you have every system in place to double check that everything is running as it should be.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had a few locations for storing your things. I am one of the supporters of the YouTube channel Category 5 TV. They have there's an upcoming episode of Data Drive. I think it's the 2 hosts drive commuting in Canada to work. It takes maybe an hour total in driving. And in the latest episode that is upcoming, he mentions that he has on his personal stuff, he has backups stored in 5 continents. Yeah.
I'm not that excessive, but
Yeah.
yeah. So from here, are we free to talk about our own take homes from this point?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, obviously, this is a big data center. I know I saw a couple comments here about, doing some local cloud backup stuff. Not always. I mean, in your situation, in your country where you have good internet, you might be able to do something like that. The rest of the world, like America, we have crappy internet. We couldn't possibly mirror a data center onto our local system. We don't have that bandwidth for that. But, one of the things is that, like, this is like, would be the type of stuff you find in commercial setups where you got, you just have tons of data in a big system. So it's not always possible to do the backups. But for us lowly guys working at home with smaller or regular size PCs, there are things we can do, and we can mitigate and learn from some of these things. The first is have a backup and restoration plan. That's the key. Backup and restoration. Like I know I offer that as a website, like a web design service is we have a full backup and restoration. So if you pay that for that service, it's, we take a full backup of the system, but we do it in such a way that if your system is breached, we can do single click, 20 minutes, your entire system is back up. That's how we do it. Go ahead, Solbu.
Yeah. So one thing that that is good news in all of this bad, sad news is that our backup system actually worked. So the 2 systems that were actually backed up from me. So all I did was I installed a minimal Debian installation containing only SSH and the system tools, one of the 2 lower checkboxes in the Debian installer, and made sure that rsync is installed afterwards. Mm-hmm. And then all I had to do was run a specially crafted rsync command. There's a special option that I don't remember. It has something to do with don't translate user IDs while in transfer.
So transmit the files, but not the permissions necessarily.
No, we want the permission to be transferred, but not the ownership.
Okay, permissions, but not owners. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, but there is a special command that is so you have these 2 -- no space O for no ownership. This is not the one I'm talking about. There is another one specifically that you want to transfer the ownership, but you don't want the system to match user IDs with usernames on the minimalistic installed system, because then something will stop working. So I had to do this twice in one of the systems, discovering this. And there's a few files that we need to exclude from backup, like the LVM volume information in /etc/LVM. You need to exclude that because we had to recreate everything again. Yep. So I installed a minimalistic system, and then I run an rsync command, which can take a while depending on how much data was being backed up. And when everything is synced and good, I run the update grub command, and then I reboot it, and everything was back as if nothing happened. So the backup and restore procedure actually worked in our case.
Okay, good. Yeah, so make sure you have a good strategy. Also, it's good to make sure that, I'm not saying 5 different continents. I don't know where to store something in Antarctica, but make sure you have backups. In my case, my personal backups are I have personal backups, in the van, and I have them in two different cities as well. So obviously things are not always the most current, as I would have to travel to different places and things like that. But, I know when I start my journeys for the winter, when I'm leaving, everything up to that point in time is completely backed up. in a couple different places. So just make sure that you have a backup strategy, a restoration strategy, and you're doing things on a couple different types of hardware. This is an interesting conversation I had with a friend of mine about hardware shifting, like data storage shifting, because this happens. Think about it. I can think back, I was in grad school when USB drives first showed up, right? So I'm over there and I'm the advanced guy. I have a zip disk, right? And I put in there and I'm working on my comprehensive exams for my doctor's degree. And I slip that disk in there. What do I hear? If you're familiar with zip disks, your zip disk is done. I'm like, my comprehensive exams. No.
And then there is also the notion that some people actually don't understand. So I have a friend who actually said this. I have a friend who got an external USB drive of 1 terabyte, I think it was. And this person is not a computer person. He just uses it and he doesn't have any concept of the behind and so on. And so his reaction was that, oh, now I have a backup drive. So now I can move all my files from my laptop onto my backup drive and have a backup. And I was thinking to myself, that's not a backup.
No. Yeah, so unfortunately, I did have a copy of maybe it was a few days prior on our lab computer, so I just used that. Patch the things in because I still had the physical copies of what needed change. So it was a little bit of time. Then I went out to the store and I bought my very first USB flash drive. Man, that thing was huge. It had 32 amazing megabytes, not gigabytes, megabytes. And I'll tell you, it was just, it's an amazing little drive. But, I was able to carry on and do that. But, But as we think about phase shifting, I still have my college files on 3.5 floppies. And someday I might get a device that I can get a copy of those and put them into my current archives, if they still work. But we have to think about that. Think of if you have stored backups on CDs, and I've done some backups on CDs. Many computers aren't coming with CD drives anymore. So you always have to think about when you're moving, when you're making backups, make sure that you have backups sometimes in different formats as well. So that, if something becomes seriously obsolete and, whatever device isn't available anymore, you can still access it. Now, of course, I could probably go on Amazon and buy a USB powered 3.5 floppy. I'm sure somebody's about to tell me that in the comments. But why? It was $5 maybe, but so just make sure that you have backups. You can use your backups and things like that. And so, really, that is the plan. So, Ivan or Mark, do you want to jump in and talk about any backup ideas or anything else related to this particular thing?
Yeah.
We'll have Ivan jump in first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got my backups are all done. They're all stored on mechanical hard drives. I've got 2 inside of this machine, and my actual production live drives are like NVMe, SSDs. Of course, my the Raspberries, they're the micro SD cards, and my process is essentially I just take a drive image as a backup, and I store that on those hard drives.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Although War Thunder does remind us we should clearly store important information on encrypted floppy disks. So, encrypted floppy disks. So, go ahead, Mark.
I think along those lines, you should probably be encrypting your full drive, or at least encrypting your home directory if you're in Linux. If you're worried about that you'll forget the passkey to log in to access your operating system, if you're concerned about that, don't do it. It's not the right method for you. You still might want to encrypt your home drive. Maybe choose a passphrase that only you will know, and you can store it in a password manager, but that's password managers are, they're just in your web browser. They're kind of in the cloud. So yes, you could do that.
My password manager's not in the cloud.
Well, I
What
know
kind of blasphemy you talking about?
like card information and stuff. I'm trying to not store that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, there are secure notes and the vault and stuff, and it's got 2 passwords that it takes to get in, but still, it's, credentials are enough, I feel like. But also, I would recommend keeping your data off of your actual physical machine wherever possible. So you're thinking, well, if it's off my machine, I don't have it. No, you get a NAS, a network attached storage. That's something that's on my to-do list. That's on my project list this year. But in my head, I need to write this down. You get a NAS solution, network attached storage.
Well, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to NAS. I wouldn't exclude the data I need from my drive for the local computer.
Set that NAS as not public facing. Make sure it just stays local on your network. And here's the thing: if you need to access it publicly, you can do there's ways you can go about that.
Well, I mean, at the time I had the house, I had the NAS there, and I just, whenever I would leave the house for more than a couple of days, I would just turn on my private VPN, which would give me access to everything. But the point is, you don't want to rely on your NAS for the files you're working with every day. But it depends on what you're talking about. So, I have one computer which has just the personal life files. It's the backup archive of the tax files and all the other types of things. That is a completely separate computer that doesn't get used for anything other than that type of stuff. But we're talking about web design stuff. I'm not storing all my web design active projects on the NAS because there's too much back and forth of getting the data to it. I'll use the NAS for transmitting data or more like storing things or passing things between systems. But I wouldn't store all my data on a NAS.
I understand that. That is, a NAS really is best for cold storage. Not that it won't work with active storage, and you could map it as a network drive if you have Windows, or you could probably do, I'm sure you can do the same setup in Linux, where you can just click on it, it's on your network, and you can just, it's no different from moving from one folder to another.
It sounds like Mark needs to look at my videos on building a NAS on Linux, because I have a couple of those. Go ahead, Solbu.
Yeah. So I mentioned this Category 5 channel. One of the hosts, the founder of this, is Robbie Ferguson from Barrie, Ontario, in Canada. He said once in one of the live streams that in one of the production that he had a few years ago, before the Kufi hit and everything had to shut down. So they have a NAS unit in the studio. So because they at the time created a show once a week, so they only were in the studio once a week. And what he would do, so he had a NAS unit with 2 drives of 10 or 12 terabytes. And what he would do was that when they left for the evening, he would remove one of the hard drives from the NAS unit and insert another one into the NAS unit. And he would make sure that the radar rebuild was in progress, because it took almost a day to fully rebuild. Mm-hmm. And then he would just leave it running. He took this one drive home. And for every week, he would come back with the drive that he took out. And then he would take out the other drive and put so he would switch. So that's one strategy that is possible. So because then you don't have all the backups in one location.
Yeah, so I have my NAS configured that I have. You can set it all up, and when I had the desktop computer running a NAS, I had a RAID system, but right now I just have a single hard drive. But I have it configured so I can plug a second drive in, and when that second drive is plugged in, it runs an rsync, syncing up the active drive to the backup drive. So I can actually have a couple of those different drives. It's quite as on Open Media Vaults, as simple as just plugging the drive in, verifying it runs, and then pop it out, and then just keep on doing that. So that's a really good strategy, what they're doing.
Like Synology is great for that, but then again, Synology is not open source, but they're also very expensive.
There's at least 3 systems that are open source in Linux. I use Open Media Vault simply because it's based on Debian, and if I have the choice to use Debian for something I'm doing, I use Debian because it works. And I know how to use it is really the thing. As far as there's I think there's another one that's based on another Linux, but then there's the big one is based on FreeBSD. I forget which one that one is, but there's a couple of them.
I will tell you for my business, one thing is I'm going to start doing the full drive encryption myself. I kind of had been. I turned on BitLocker temporarily and decided against it based on what Tom's videos have spoken about drive encryption. But that's really neither here nor there. I wouldn't recommend using BitLocker. Maybe use something like VeriCrypt instead if you're going to do full drive encryption.
I use Lux.
I was going to say, so it's okay.
Since everything I'm doing is Linux, I just use Lux too. But
like Tom said, I'll just reiterate that, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive NAS solution ready to go. Like Synology, if you've got a little bit of do-it-yourself tech knowledge, you can put together a NAS a lot of different ways. You can put it together with a Raspberry Pi cluster, which is unique. And you can do a lot, with Raspberry Pi. Then again, I start to get divergent on what I was originally talking about. And the open source software for the NAS operating system is ideal because, again, it's free and open source. So, the code is being audited by the community, and you're not having to rely on proprietary blobs of code that no one can see but the company. And that's the whole reason we preach open source. Yes, I do use proprietary software for my business, but I'm trying to use much less, and I do actively use open source where I can, where it makes sense.
All right, I want to get into comments here so we can finish up on time. Over on Rumble, Kismet said it was a quiet chat, so I said it's a little too quiet. We need a conspiracy theorist over here. So Studebaker Guy says the aliens are responsible for all hard drive failures. So Solbu, you should look at the aliens as those fixing your issues. All right. Very good.
Yeah, this is Studebaker Guy on Rumble says that you're showing your age when you talk about using zip disks.
Yeah, I did responding saying I'm old. I know Studebaker Guy might be a whippersnapper, but I'm an old guy. I'm an old fogey. I'm stuck in my ways. That's why I still like the Cinnamon desktop and hate that GNOME stuff.
Yeah, and I'm even older. I actually remember actively using 5.5-inch floppies.
Yeah, I had a few of those. You did say the releases and delete the source files to save space. Yeah, that's usually what I do too.
And by the way, for those who are interested, the amount of data that we had that was lost was about 2 terabytes.
Okay, that's ouch. Kismet used Arch for like 2 days, but unfortunately it was Manjaro. Wasn't aware that Manjaro was the Linux equivalent of a rubber chicken. Okay.
I don't imagine you would need a cluster. A Raspberry Pi is powerful.
Zibex Demise says he still has boxes of 5.5 floppies around. I remember when we updated our Apple IIe to 128K. Good stuff. All right, 22 over there on Rumble. We have 12 on Odyssey. Let's see what type of comments we got going on over here. Not a whole lot over there. Grayson jumped on. Greetings. Let's see. Nice to be on Odyssey instead of the Tubies. Yep. If you are unaware, we are co-streaming on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, DLive, and Twitch. Of course, I don't really monitor what's going on those other ones. I don't know. We could have 100 people watching over there. I have no idea. Maybe I should pull those up sometime and look. Huh? Vladimir is on here. Please don't invade me. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out is what types of things to set up my SSDs. Encryption is not good for them. Read-write degradation. I'm thinking of having... No, like you can run SSDs with encryption. You just need to make sure that trim is enabled. And we got 24 over on YouTube. Sorry, guys. You're about to get an ad in 3 seconds. I know you got like 100 of them. Before we go too much further, though, for those that are the Christians in the audience or interested in such topics, we are returning to our Thursday night studies tonight at 9. We are starting the book of Haggai. So I will put the link for that in the chats, at least the 3 chats I'm monitoring. And you can go ahead and have a look over there if you are interested in such things. If not, no offense. Just letting you guys know I'm back to that. Okay. Mark left the meeting. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he had to make a call.
Okay. And on YouTube, we got 25 watching on the Tubies. Let's see what we got up here. There's probably a lot of comments. I guess not a whole ton. Okay. Main desktop is 32 gigabytes. Plan going to 64. Yeah, I'm still running 16 on this one, but it doesn't cause me problems. So I'm like, whatever. I considered upgrading it, but I'm just like, you know what? Why bother spending $100 to upgrade it when I might just upgrade the whole computer in the future and, you know, save the money for now. Anyone talked about the National Public Data leak? Oh, yeah, we had a lot of discussion about that kind of stuff. Yeah, Equihacks leaked all that stuff out years ago anyway, so... And they're like, hey, have a year of credit monitoring service that doesn't actually do anything. Great. Sister-in-law's laptop went IO error, no backups in the middle of her daughter watching YouTube for school. Yikes. I remember when I was back in the Kufa era, we actually our camp ran digitally. And I got to be the poor sap that was sitting there monitoring the Zoom rooms, filtering the kids to all their different classes. And so I had a list of this, I had all these computers set up, and the main computer I was using had a system crash right in the middle of the day. I'm like, so it's like, push the button on the icy dock, flop in the other drive, push the button there, boom, we're back up on my, I had that Linux Mint running KDE years ago. Like, threw into that, get back up there, nobody knew the difference. I'm like, all right, now I got to figure out what's wrong with this one. So in between that, I'm tinkering with this on a different computer. It was fun day, you know. Let's see. If you have master RAM, you can set up RAM disk and hold data and then persist it to permanent storage. There you go.
Yeah, on the new system that we have installed, which so we have a few of us have been nagging for 2 years in order to install the proper sized drive in this. We have. Oh, and then I had a point. That's annoying. So I'm getting old. Sometimes I'm start talking, and while I'm talking, I forget why I'm talking.
Okay, how can you fix the Waydroid Play Protect certification error? I'm guessing, is that related to trying to install Play apps on top of Waydroid? I've never tried to do that before. Call me crazy. I've never had the ambition to add Google where it hasn't been before. If anybody else has had that problem, but not me. If that's what it's related to, I don't know. Maybe I should try spinning something up with Waydroid and seeing what I can do with it. Hearing they developed petabyte optical disk. Yeah, I did see that. That looks kind of neat. Oh
yeah, I don't know about RAM storage. So on the new system, we have a lot of memory. So we have the capability to store some systems in a virtual RAM drive, but nowhere near the amount that we actually need in order to do this. So the needed storage would be we would need maybe 3 terabytes of memory in order to do this, and we don't have that kind of money.
Commodore fan used parallel port 100 megabyte zip disk drive in high school. I had one of those. I was the cool guy in college. I had a pile of zip disks with a bunch of CDs on it, right? So I'd rip the CDs onto MP3s, which was in that day was very complicated. But then I had, instead of bringing a back of CDs, I just had a little stack of zip disks. There's all sorts of music on there.
Yeah, and 150 megabyte on a zip disk was actually a lot of storage.
Yeah, so they were 100 megabytes, I believe. I think they had expanded ones at 250. I think you needed a special drive for those, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I did not have any 250 drives. Jeez, you guys are getting another ad in 1 minute on YouTube. Jeez. YouTube's been doubling down on ads lately. It's like, here's a minute of content, here's a minute ad, here's a minute of content, here's a minute ad.
Yeah.
iPassword stored in 2 password protected WinZip files stored on USBs. There you go. Important life stuff backed up on 2 different rugged Corsair watertight flash drives in a fireproof safe. Yep. Hello, StormOS. He's late, and then Anchorage shames him for being late.
Yeah.
Right. Only time I had in real life hard drive issues dropping one. I had that happen once. Oh, that's just not good. It's like you see it, you feel it slip out of your hands, like no, and then the data just corrupts on it. I actually had that happen on one of my core life file disks. It was the backups that I had that brought everything back. Doesn't matter what SSD external hard drive you get to run Pop OS. Wait, does it matter which SSD external hard drive you get to run Pop OS alongside Windows 11? No, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously get something a little bigger probably. Make sure that trim is turned on.
Yeah.
Glad to hear. God bless open source and all the brilliant people working on it to make Linux life so much easier. Yeah, there you go. Cut DLive and Twitch for X. Why bother cutting them? They don't cost me anything to do. I might add X, though. Of course, I'd have to pay Elon Musk. But with the things Elon Musk's been doing lately, I may not have a problem with that anymore. I know you go back on my previous stuff on Elon Musk, I was highly critical of him. But I'll tell you, he's demonstrated himself to... I obviously wouldn't agree with him on everything, but at least he seems to be about free speech, and which is the antithesis of where the world is going right now. You know?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I might actually... It's weird. I might actually throw money at Twitch, or at X. Not Twitch. No, Twitch sucks. I just keep it going because it's free. I don't know. Maybe they banned me by now. Who knows? I don't think they did. I still get stream summary updates when we're done. So
Yeah, and it's still working.
yeah. Oh, it is still working. Is there anybody over there? Should I jump over there?
There's only one Yoshi Host who says he just had a quiet club here. He have a quiet club there.
Okay, yeah. Vladimir, on occasion, just rebuked me. I will accept my rebukes, kind sir. He says, stop spamming poop tube links on Odyssey. Sorry, man. Okay, so if you are interested in watching the Christian content on Odyssey, Odyssey has to wait for it to go live on YouTube first. So it should be up by the end of the night. It's just find my Odyssey channel at Our Walk in Christ. And then you can, of course, look at our back catalog. But the one on Haggai that we're doing today it should be there by late tonight. But it has to go live on YouTube. And then, Ivan, do you know how long that takes usually for Odyssey to get populated?
Fairly quickly, like a couple minutes ish.
Okay, yeah. So it might very well be up close to maybe 10 o'clock. It's a half-hour show tonight. Yeah, I have to ask Ivan because he's the one that does our video links. So he knows how long it takes. What BitChute takes forever, right?
Some days it's like an hour. Other days it's like, okay, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, that was the one recently, right? It didn't go for a day, right?
Oh, it was one that you posted around 10 o'clock at night, and it even by the following morning it hadn't posted yet. And I'm like, oh my word, what are these people doing?
The only ones I do 10 o'clock at night are like news. Oh, it was the one that it was just taking forever to get up. I don't know. I don't remember.
Possibly, yeah. It was later in the evening.
Maybe the solution is coded by a guy who had the same viewpoint on scheduling as certain places in Africa. There are certain places where there are bus lanes between most cities and towns in Africa, but some of those routes, the bus there is a schedule when it is supposed to leave. If the bus is full, so you can get on the bus at 8 a.m. and it doesn't leave until 5 p.m. because it isn't full until 5 p.m. and then it leaves. So.
All right, Vladimir. Here's the Odyssey or the Odyssey channel for that stuff. So last one was 2 days ago. Here's what's interesting, right? Looking at content, this is how much YouTube suppresses certain things. My views for the same content on Odyssey are equivalent to the YouTube views.
Yay.
So, let me see what Rumble looks like, because if I go and I look at the content, right, YouTube highly suppresses the Christian content, whereas Odyssey Odyssey is not. Let me see what we got here. So we had, even on Rumble also gets the equivalent views for the same videos. Yeah, we had 10 views on my Daily Walk 373. We had 10 views on that one. Let's see, Daily Walk 373. There's 33 views on YouTube. So I guess YouTube gets a few more, but not significantly higher. Anyway, I think we are gonna jump off. Let me double check, make sure we've got all the comments in.
Yeah. So in closing, the plan going forward for us is 10 years ago. One of the I didn't have full access to because I was starting as a new sysadmin in the association. So they give you limited. Based on what you want to do, and then you can, So they needed to upgrade the Debian version running on the Fix My Street, and they had we had a testing instance which didn't have any real data, it had entries and so on, but it didn't go anywhere, just to test the solution, and so I was attempting to upgrade it. 10 years ago, and I got a 10 gigabyte virtual machine file, and I couldn't get it working. So I have a complete install of the testing instance that I plan to get going within the next week, I think. Because the Fix My Street instance in Norway is highly missed.
All right.
And our case management system, which handles incoming email, in order to make sure email is responded to, also went down. So we need to reconfigure maybe a new instance soon. So it should be fun.
Before we go, the kitty would like to have a message, everybody. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like the comment wherever you're at. And go ahead and leave us something down there in the comment section. Thank you, kitty. All right. So the kitty would like you to like and comment and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, buddy. All right, now he's gonna go lay down again. All right. I disturbed his sleep. All right, guys, back up your data. Back up your data. Back up your data. All right, we'll catch you guys later. And tomorrow